Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I am Sen. We will going to go through monorepo, why we need monorepo compared to the multi-repo, and we will use a famous library known as Nx from Nrwl. The Nx library can be found in next.dev. So let's get started. We will do some comparisons of monorepo versus multi-repo, and we will set up an Nx library with Angular application, and I will show you a small demo. So the question might be why we need a monorepo versus a multi-repo. In the context of microservices architecture, a multi-repo versus a monorepo is always a debatable question. Monorepo has some special purpose, while as multi-repo also solve many of the cases. But we are focusing on Nx library, which suppose a monorepo and micro frontends. This is basically a front-end development concept as compared to the back-end development. So monorepo maintains a micro front-end architecture. So if you are developing a micro front-end, you need to consider a monorepo because there are lots of versions of the applications. You will have code sharing among the applications, and the third case is not a big impact on the project, but it gives some visibility to the developer. Let's discuss what is version policy. Suppose you have an different application in micro front end. So if you don't know about the micro front end, I will recently gonna publish a video on that one, so I will give a link after that video is recorded. So if you are know about the micro front end, then this will be easy for you to understand. So I am thinking of all the applications are Angular because I am basically focusing on the Angular application, not the other one. But with micro front ends, you can develop an applications in other like React or Vue.js. But for my perspective, you don't conflict with the different frameworks when you go with the micro front ends. It gives you a little bit headache for you to maintain those things. So you have an applications that have a different features, and each features you are separating as a services. So they are all Angular application. So now suppose this Angular application, when at the time of development you have used Angular version 12 for this one. All the applications are on version 12. Now if you are not following a monorepo concept and you have maintained a multi-repo concept, these applications will be on different repo. So that means each applications, they will have their own package.json file, in which you need to upgrade the package.json file to a latest Angular version or ng update, which does auto update for you. Now with the concept of monorepo, there will be only one package.json for you. It won't have a multiple package.json. There will be only one package.json for you. So when you try to upgrade your applications, the library Nx that has a bunch of CLI tool to upgrade as well, this will upgrade our Angular versions with only one package.json. So this makes a little bit easier to upgrade your applications compared to the multi-repo. So the version policy doesn't get conflict over here. The second point which I have highlighted is sharing a code. Now with the sharing of code, suppose with the same one, all the applications, they have a button as a component, share components they are accessing. Now with a multi-repo, you can also share a code, but you need to publish this one to an npm. So for this will be in some npm package or some artifact registry in cloud provider. Now with multi-repo also you are accessing this one with a dependency on each of the project of here. Now with the micro front-end architecture, because the front-end designs and all sharing the code will be a more. Now with the case of only one item, publishing to an npm is quite easy, but if you have a multiple libraries that each application is accessing, and you will publishing those libraries to different API, is quite tedious, because you need to publish each library to npm and you need to make a dependency on that one. So all the code needs to be on that one, so all they will have a dependency of each project. Now with such an huge shared library, it is kind of maintaining a library for each individual components is also quite tedious. So with monorepo you will have inside a project a libraries that can be shared among different applications, so you don't need to publish a library to an npm. That's the code sharing makes easy for you over there. And visibility is quite easy because each developers can have an eye on each application, so they will get an idea of each applications. However, with a multi-repo this is not an opposite. So we'll do a setup on our application. So I am in my terminal. So if I go to my terminal, so I will just come back over here. So we have some commands to create a workspace. Now how this monorepo works, it's first give you an of how to create a workspace. To create a workspace you have a command over here, npx create nx workspace latest, and if you run this one it will ask you workspace name. So I will write this one monorepo test. Now which application you want to install? Since I am installing an Angular application and it is asking me the application, so I will give application 1 over here. So just select whatever style prefers you want, and it's asks you NX Cloud, so I'm doing no on this one. So it will try to install a lot of bunch of dependencies and it will create a workspace for you. So this will take some little bit of time. Now you can see that have created a workspace for me. An application has been zero touch. If I go inside that one, so that will be monorepo test. So if I do ls over here, it has bunch of things. Let's open this one in VS Code. Monorepo test. So if you go to the project structure of this one, you will see a bunch of things that been added to you. By default, the NX library use Jest as an unit testing and Cypress as an end-to-end testing. So it also set up an ESLint and prettier code format for you, and you can do a lint easily. So you don't need to set up lint and prettier on your application. So if you check, there are two things over here. One is app folder and one is libs folder. The libs folder is where all your application share libraries comes in. So you don't need to publish anything on your npm or other cloud registry. So you can point all your share libraries on this one. And if you see inside the apps, I have an application 1. And it has created an application 1 E2E which is based on the Cypress. So by default it creates you two applications, one for end-to-end testing and another one is Angular application. So if you go inside an Angular applications, it's the regular Angular application. That is not any difference over here. It's the regular Angular application with components and HTML on it. But the difference is here, there is no package.json for this application. So if you see here, there is no package.json for this application. So where the package.applications comes from? So package.applications comes from here. So if you come here, since I have an Angular CLI of 14, so it is installing all your Angular 14 versions for you. Now based on your CLI on a local computer, it does a setup for this one. So when I told you at the beginning there will be only one package.json for entire applications, now you can create a multiple applications inside these app folders. Now when you create a multiple applications, those applications will also not have package.jsons. They will all be pointing to this package.json file. So when at the time of upgrade, it's only going to upgrade this package.jsons. So there are also Nx CLI commands that you need to install and run to upgrade the package. Angular CLI also works, but like it's preferred to do Nx CLI over Angular CLI. So let's see how we can install an Nx CLI. So if you go to the terminal, since I'm using a Mac, so I'm using a sudo. It's up to you. You don't need to install a sudo. And since I am using a terminal, a warp, which gives you an suggestions, I will make a video on warp later, but we can just use this one for now. So to install an Nx, we have a command sudo npm install global nx latest. Since I have already installed this one, so it won't take much time for me, but for you it might take a little bit of time. Now as you can see, Nx has been installed with latest versions. The one more thing you want to install is Nx CLI. That was just an Nx. So if you want to install Nx CLI, you can also do this one. So it's not Nx over here now, it's Nrwl over here and add CLI. So it will install you a Nx CLI. So we have done a setup. So let's do the next one. We also have an Angular plugin for this one. So Nx doesn't work only with Angular. It supports React and other framework as well. So when I was creating an Angular application, is by default add a Angular plugin for me. But if you are creating an empty workspace, and in that empty workspace you want to include an Angular plugin, so you need to install something like npm install d nrwl at Angular. So I will just show you when I was creating an workspace, it has added a nrwl plugin of Angular for me. So if you are creating an empty workspace, you have to include Angular plugin for this ones, and when you are trying to generate an application, you have to run this one with app name. So to create multiple applications, you have to run this application. So by default it adds ESLint as linter, just as unit test, and Cypress as E2E.